Gather round, heroes, and join me for an in-depth look at the secrets of Demeo. In this episode, we dig deep into a source of much fear and hatred, the sorcerer's electrical attacks. Just to be clear, I'm going to refer to the Overcharge card in two ways. Overcharge is when you soup yourself up with power, and Overload is the attack when you overcharge a second time to release that power. First, consider the question, which attack is best, Zap, Lightning, or Overload? Surprisingly, they're all best, depending on the situation. In this video, I'm going to rank them by category. Efficacy covers damage given and received. Usability covers availability, including situations when you can use it. Predictability covers safety and how much control you have over the outcome.
The power of lightning.
As a new player, you might just look at the raw damage output. At least as important is the stunning effect, which stops your allies from taking damage that turn, up to 6 points depending on what kind of trouble you're in. Zap is obviously the bronze medal here, doing 1 damage and stunning 1 target on a hit. You won't be killing much, but you'll be neutralizing mid-tier enemies, doing 4 to 6 damage. Lightning takes silver, with 3 damage, chaining to random nearby enemies for 1 damage each, and stunning them, even hitting multiple times. Again, only if you roll a hit. Lightning suffers from diminishing returns, not only with the damage, but also the stunning. Zap and Lightning let you pick the optimal enemy to neutralize for 1 turn, but the rest of the targets hit by Chain Lightning are going to be lesser and random, and only if you hit any secondary targets at all. Overload claims gold, though, for several reasons. It hits multiple primary targets for 3 damage. If there are water tiles or wet targets adjacent, it chains for the same damage, not reduced damage the way you see with Lightning. And it stuns whatever it hits, even on a miss. And let's not forget, when you're overcharged, you're causing 1 point of counterattack damage on anything that hits Zedokar, and stunning it. This goes well with Magic Shield, not only because it lets you take more abuse, but Magic Shield also removes the wet status, which would otherwise stop Zedokar from overcharging. Let's mention some supplements too. Water Flask, Water Lamp, possibly with a Vortex, Scroll of Tsunami, and just walking around Book 3 can all get your enemies wet, which results in triple damage from an electrical attack. It also causes your attacks to chain, so Zap turns into Lightning, Lightning gets even juicier, and Overload turns into Multi-Lightning. Wet targets dry out when hit though, so you only get this multiplier once. Magic Potion grants its bonus to every target hit, so a +1 magic damage might end up doing an extra 6 damage with Lightning or Overload, or even more if a target's hit multiple times. This applies before the wet multiplier. Clear. So after your 3rd drink, you're doing 12 damage minimum on wet targets. Usability covers all the factors which might spoil your electrocution plans. The most obvious one is the Overcharge action. Since you can only use 1 of Zap, Lightning, or Overcharge per turn, both Lightning and Overload can only be used every other turn. Because Overcharge only lasts 3 turns, you can only use an overcharged attack for 2 of those turns before you need to spend another turn overcharging.
What should I do?
Range is an important and obvious point. Zap and Lightning tie for first place here with unlimited line-of-sight range, while Overload is at the opposite end of the spectrum, requiring in-person delivery. Usually this means spending at least 1 action point to move to the optimal location before you blow your top. Situational factors really decide when to use each of these options. Zap is almost always useful, but not on high-tier monsters and bosses. Lightning is best used on tight groups, which are easy to find, just open a door. The Chain Lightning also lets you hit enemies not in your line of sight. Overload is far more difficult to use, and requires Zed on the front lines where he can get into position. It's a nice complement to Lightning, so you're never locked into this option. There are some cards that can help you do a good Overload attack. One More Thing and Focus Potion will help you get into position, or help you to retreat after you've exploded. Teleport can bring you right to the best spot for a devastating attack. Vortex can help clump enemies together for a good lightning strike. Finally, we have predictability. A big part of Demeo is the die rolls, and not only does your primary attack require a die roll, but any kind of chain lightning is random. Mostly.
And they mostly come at night. Mostly.
First, we'll talk about safety. As long as everything is dry, Zap and Overload are going to be perfectly safe for your nearby friendlies. Even a critical hit won't have any wild side effects. The only thing you need to worry about is hitting a wet target or a water tile, which will cause random arcing. I'm taking points off for Overload because you have 8 tiles that need to be dry instead of just the one target for Zap. Lightning can be made more safe at the expense of usability. You just need to make sure that your friendlies are at least 5 spaces away from what you're targeting. Even that doesn't guarantee their safety, but the odds of them getting hit are pretty slim. Be aware though, if there is water still leading up to them, they could still quite easily be hit. And let's not forget about Zed's safety. Even though he's never hit by his own electrical attacks, simply walking around overcharged makes Zed vulnerable to the wet status. This makes Book 3 particularly dangerous, with Brookmare's spitting rivers and the Root Lord tossing people into puddles. I'll take a further point off Overload, since walking right up to your enemies and blowing up can put Zed into some really dangerous situations. Randomization is the enemy of control. Although all 3 attacks use a die roll, Overload is the only one that lets you bank on an outcome. All targets are stunned, even on a miss. And since chaining is random, we'll give Zap and Overload a bonus point for not doing that. What can you do to make these more predictable? Not much. You can take a luck potion to remove the die roll, but that has no effect on the chain lightning to secondary targets. What can you do to make these less predictable? Just add water. This doesn't change lightning much, triple damage of course, and it gets very juicy, while Zap and Overload get a boost to damage in exchange for losing control. Lightning users benefit from wet targets a lot. It was already unpredictable, now we're just adding more damage. Overcharge users need to be very careful here, as Overcharge plus water can take out an entire party.
Back, I say.
At this point, it's looking like Zap is pretty good. But consider one more thing. While overcharged, you have the option of using Lightning or Overload, whichever is best for the situation, and that makes overcharging a very appealing option. So, in a nutshell, learn all of the tools available to you for best results. When you're in a situation where you don't have a target and you don't want to move, either because it's your last action or you're waiting for the hunter to catch up, then overcharge. Next turn, when you breach into a new area, target clusters of enemies. Aim for the ones that you want stunned the most. Use Overload if you can reach them or party safety is a concern. And Lightning when you're at medium or long range. Then rely on Zap for the rest of the battle, unless stun isn't effective for the remaining targets. So that's what I've learned about the Sorcerer over the years. Of all of the heroes available, I found him to require the most planning and resources, but the reward for a job well done is mass overkills and bosses crumpling like wet paper. Have you dished out the maximum 27 damage yet? Are you enjoying these new overkill animations? Drop your thoughts and war stories into the comments. This has been my Why, and I'll see you in Helmar.